Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Blacknificent Show. My name is Keamogetse, a black child on the rise, and I will be your host tonight. So my last talk had an undertone of adjusting to a world beyond the pandemic. I think there's no need for us to revisit what a traumatic experience the pandemic was for us, not only because we had to go through it with questionable leadership, but just as a pandemic in general, it put us through the most. So with the approaching elections, we find ourselves having to look into the current governance that we have and what we would like to see happen in future and change, especially following this pandemic. Tonight's conversation may not necessarily aid you with advice on how to place your vote. However, we will be having a discussion about the nearing elections. Tonight, I have one guest who is namely Mr. V. Khosa. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you and our viewers.
Thank you for honoring your invite tonight. I'd like to give you this platform to just introduce yourself. What is your profession and what is your area of work?
Thank you again for giving me this opportunity. My name is Khosa Vutivi. I'm currently doing an ICT scholarship where we're teaching teachers how to use technology in their classrooms. I remember we are faced with a pandemic, we're in a new normal. So learning is no longer normal, but we have to come with a strategy on how to make learning effective, even in the comfort of the students in their homes. So we're busy doing that in schools, teaching teachers how to use technology to record videos and teach lessons using virtually. So
Okay, noted. I know this is a vague question, but how are you feeling about the upcoming elections?
uh, I feel so good by these upcoming elections because once again, South Africans are given an opportunity to head to the polls and choose the leaders that they want, to choose the government that they want. But a bit worried because these elections are taking place in the midst of this deadly pandemic that we are faced with. So political
Yeah.
parties don't get enough time to campaign and make their voice to be heard out there. But I believe that they will run smoothly. Uh,
Okay. For those of us, or for just other people who may not necessarily understand why we have national and then provincial and municipal elections, how could you best explain these different types of elections to them and their necessities?
uh, Elections are divided into three. We have
Okay.
national, provincial, and local. Now,
Okay.
the local elections, it's for a small scale of people of a particular area
Okay.
or a particular environment. And in those elections, they deal with the local challenges, improving the area that we live improving or the challenges that we are dealing with, the challenges that we are faced in the area that we are based on.
Okay.
And mostly in this elections, a person who is elected is from that area to avoid those things of saying that our leader cannot see what we are facing. Our leader
Okay.
cannot see what we are going through. So on local elections, we elect people from our rural or our local areas, to put it like that. But when we talk about provincial elections, we're talking about a governance that governs the regions and the local municipalities as to govern on the funds of the municipalities, how much must they get, how the funds are being used, and what is it that they are being used for. Because
Okay.
remember, a local municipality, there are some funds or some divisions or some development that a local municipality cannot do without consulting the provincial heads. So when we talk about national, we're talking about the central of everything. Those are the ones that is the engine of everything, of all the politics. That's where we get an opportunity to elect the president and the deputy president. And this control is it oversees everything that is happening in the country.
Okay.
they are the ones on the forefront of the country.
Okay. I think I got a better understanding as well. So thank you for that. In which areas are you expecting to see any changes or growth following these elections?
Okay, remember when we talk about local elections, we're talking about local areas and the challenges of
Yeah.
local people.
Okay.
And remember, our people in local areas are having different challenges.
True.
Some are in the dark for 3 months now. Some don't have
Yeah.
running water for a long time now. So what we expect to change in these upcoming elections, we expect to see a different service delivery. You know, for a long time, promises have been made and there've been less deliveries in our local areas. So I am eager to see an increase in service delivery and other political parties taking over and changing the local areas.
Mm. I hear you. I hear you. So during the last elections, the ANC led by a majority of 50%, the DA rigged over like 20% of the votes, and the EFF took home less than 10%. But then there's been a trend of decline in the votes for the ANC and an incline in the votes for the DA. Very small, but an inclination nonetheless, and also growth for the EFF. Do you think we should anticipate that these trends will continue? Or do you, in your personal capacity, predict that we'll be somewhat shocked?
On a personal level, or according to
Yeah,
what I've seen,
yeah,
we must anticipate that this trend will continue as such.
okay.
Because if you take a look at the political landscape, it has
Mm.
shifted, uh, and mandate of the EFF is much clearer than those of other political parties. Sorry. And you know that their mandate is in favor of black people and more especially the young people of this country. So
Okay.
this trend will continue. If you can also check, statistics don't lie, like numbers don't lie. For the
True.
past few years, we're seeing a decline on the votes for ANC, and we're seeing an uprising on the votes for the EFF. And
Mm.
remember, our people are tired. So this trend will continue. People are ready to change.
I don't think I need to ask you who you're voting for. Me, I can already see it. I don't think you should disclose this. We know where you belong. But nonetheless, election campaigns are supposed to be an opportunity for us to have open discussions about who's going to be a better representative, and who will make better government. But especially in like certain carefully thought out communities, it can be seen as a type of bribe to the residents, or some type of manipulation or just taking advantage of the situation in the communities. Do you agree with the sentiment, or how do you view election campaigns?
I agree.
Mm.
Elections campaign can be taken as bribe or manipulative, and
Mm.
you'll agree with me. It's during elections that we get to see our leaders on the ground
True,
working us.
true.
It's during election time that we see our leaders bringing service to the people.
Mm.
But after that, nothing happens. So,
Mm.
and as we can also agree that when it comes to door, I'm from a rural area, so when it comes to door, you'll find leaders coming there blackmailing elderly people, saying to them that if you vote for this other party, you will lose this and this and this. So,
Yeah.
election campaign sometimes can be used as a bribe, because there are some
Mm.
people who get to benefit during those campaigns so that they can vote for some organizations.
Mm.
So personally, I strongly believe that I'm manipulative, because our leaders must be seen on the ground, not during campaigns only. Every day we must see them on the ground.
True.
I can give an example of where I come from. Where I come from, it's even hard to get a proof of address. You'll go to the council and they'll tell you that you must come back tomorrow. But during elections, you'll find him making noise, promising. So those are they are manipulating people to things that they know
True.
they cannot do or they cannot deliver. So
True.
somehow they are bribing people and manipulating the nation.
I hear you. I hear you. The Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs had said that these elections are particularly important in advancing our young democracy because it's the sphere of government that's closest to us as residents in service delivery. And that's exactly what we were talking about earlier, that, these elections affect us and our direct challenges, But I think a lot of people choose not to vote because they feel conflicted about, who to vote for. Sometimes there's just a lack of faith in the manifestos of different parties. And sometimes you just don't feel compelled to, vote amongst many other reasons. What is your opinion on people's decision to decide not to vote?
Mm, My opinion in this case is that refraining or not participating will never be a solution to our current problem. You know, my sister, staying in an abusive relationship and not saying anything will never be a problem, a solution. But a solution will come when you stand up and speak and your voice be heard on what you stand for and what you want. So people abstaining from voting will never be a solution. And on the other side, I feel like the country does not teach the citizens the importance of casting their vote. Like people are living in the dark. As I said, that we only see our leaders during campaigns. We will see them again after 5 years when they are campaigning for another, for us to elect them again. So I think one thing we have to do as a country, political education must be part of our curriculum in our schools so that people can know the importance of voting. Because staying in your house and decide not to vote, you are giving people who you don't want to rule the power to rule because others will vote for them. So, as a citizen of this country, we have to go out and make our voices to be heard. We
I
don't
hear you, and
abstain.
thank you for that. I think a lot of people, I think everyone's entitled to exercising their rights as they see fit, but I think a lot of people fail to see Uguti choosing not to have a say is then taking away a positive impact that you wanted to make within your community. I don't think it's a wise decision to make at all, but thank you for that. Voting for Black people, particularly, was once a very prestigious right. Do you think that this right remains one of integrity amongst the Black community, or do you think it's just lost its integrity?
Definitely, it has lost its integrity. Uh, when we had the last elections, I think it was 2018 or 2019, if not mistaken, the national elections.
Mm.
Uh, I was one of the grand forces of the political party that I am in.
Yeah.
uh, in our village, it's a very big village consisting of roughly 7 to 8,000 people who fit to vote.
Okay.
But to my surprise, when we went to the voting polls, only 4,948 people registered to vote. The rest decided to abstain. So it has lost its integrity. The numbers are
Yeah.
declining. People
Yeah.
no longer believe in our own Black brothers to lead us. People no longer believe in our own people to improve our situation. Because it's another thing for me to be made to feel pain by another person. But if my brother is the one who's causing me to feel pain, it's another thing. So we lose even trust in family. So that's the issue. Seeing our own Black people uh, not working to our own good, seeing our own Black people rejecting or not listening to our cries, it's very
Yeah.
painful. Hence, I believe that voting for black people has lost its integrity. People no longer
Mm,
believe it anymore. And one
mm,
thing I can say is that our country does not like good leadership. We just like good people who are in power. We've got good
mm.
leadership skills. The people who are in power are just looking for themselves. People today feel like voting is useless, and they've been voting for the past 24 years, and nothing is changing. Like,
Mm,
it's not service delivery. We're still in the same situation.
yeah,
Where I come from, I think we've got close to 5 to 6 years striking for a tar road. Even today, we don't have any. So it's useless for people to vote. They
I
feel like
hear
these people don't
you.
care about us. They just want to feed
Yeah.
themselves and their dogs. So why should we vote for them?
Mm, yeah, no. Do you think that it's fair that today's youth and Black people in particular are constantly reminded of our past, as a means of getting us to participate in the country's politics? I think because for me personally, when I look at it, it tends to feel like a form of manipulation. Everybody reverts back to, oh, but as Black people, you should want to vote because of where we come from. It's very frustrating. So do you think that do you think it's manipulative? Do you think that it's fair that we're constantly brought back to our past?
It is totally unfair
Mm.
uh, and strongly manipulative. Sorry. It is totally unfair and strongly manipulative. Why do I say that? You know, the government or our leaders are no longer delivering. They're just telling us about what happened.
Mm.
In our native language, there's this saying, "Mitiro ya vulavula," your works speaks.
Mm.
Now, I think it's high time that we stop talking about the apartheid regime. We
Mm.
stop talking about what our ancestors went through in the apartheid regime. It's high time our leaders show us what they've done in the years that they've been in power. And because this thing is also advantageous to the upcoming or new political parties. All right, we have got Mr. Helman Mashaba with Action SA. Action SA does not have any history of leading the people of South Africa, of doing something for the people of South Africa. So now already he's ruled out because he does not have any history. So I think our leaders, what they must do when they are campaigning, bring us the manifesto, interpret the manifesto, don't take us back. We don't want to go there. We're going forward as a country. Take us forward.
True.
Give us a clear vision of where you want to take us as a country. I think
Mm.
that will be fair. Because, okay, now we've got BLF. That guy does not have any history of doing anything for this country. So what must he use to campaign when he's campaigning? So in order for us to have a fair campaign, let us stop talking about history, bring ideas, bring a clear vision that anyone can read and run with, and we deliver on the vision that we are giving to the people. Let us not give people false hope.
I hear you. I hear you. I think I wanted to say this earlier as well when you were answering to the previous question, and I wanted to say thank you for highlighting the fact that it's our own brothers and sisters, it's our own Black people, that we're seeing represent us, and they're choosing not to deliver to us. They're choosing to lie and trick us and just play these games with us. And I think it's very frustrating. And it's the word that you use, which is hurtful. I think that's the perfect bracket for the situation, because it's painful to watch that you thinking that there's some type of salvation, but you're going back to what was happening, and if not, you're getting worse to a certain extent. It's very painful to watch. But
You know,
oh yeah,
all right,
sorry,
okay.
no.
When we're talking about our black brothers not delivering, when we strived for the municipality, we used to wake up around 4, go and close roads, and make sure there's no entrance.
Yeah.
When we got to municipalities, we voted our brothers into power. They bought cars. They can't even now give us lifts. They can't just hoot at us now. They just pass at us as if they don't know. It's so painful. Many people put their lives at risk fighting for those municipalities, fighting for this freedom, only to find that our own black brothers still perpetrate pain into our lives.
I hear you. I hear you. Many people refrain from, as you've said, like throughout this whole conversation, is that many people refrain from engaging in politics because they think it's just a big game of tricks and lies and deceit, especially in our country. You know, if you had an opportunity to express to somebody why they should be interested in politics, what would you say?
If I had an opportunity, remember, going to the polls, it's you speaking what you want. It's you trying to make voice to be heard. So I would say to our people that we have to participate and go to the polls and make our own decision and give power to the people that we want. You know, many people choosing not to vote, as I said earlier, is not an option, my sister. But what I can say to the people, or I could say to the leaders, let's forget about the people because they are already in pain. Let's talk about leaders who must give hope to the people who are in pain. Leaders should lead by example. That's the best motivation.
Yeah.
When you're given power to lead, utilize it. Use it wisely. Do what is required of you. Deliver what you promised to the people. You know, one other mistake that makes our people to lose interest in voting or in politics. There is no transparency between the leaders and our people. Our leaders don't have time to talk with our people. Like, even if there are issues, you know, if there is an issue of water, I think it will be best for a leader to go to the community and say to them, for these days or for this period, we'll be having this challenge. Don't surprise us when I'm about to cook, then electricity goes off. You did not talk to us. Then how are we motivated to participate in politics? So let our leaders lead by example so that the upcoming generation can see a need to participate in politics.
I think that's a very powerful sentiment. Do you think that the youth the current youth, do you think they care for these elections? Do you think that young people are invested in our country and making educated decisions about their votes? If not, how can we motivate the youth in particular to participate?
They are not.
Okay,
let me start by myself. I was not interested in politics. The thing that got me into politics is because I wanted to make conversation with my father because he loves politics. So besides politics, there's nothing we can talk about. So I had to join politics so that we can have a conversation. and our youth are not interested in politics, to tell you the truth. You know, on the day of closing to register to vote, from 8 o'clock until 12 o'clock, I think I registered more than 10 people on the IEC using the online platform.
Okay.
And I had to beg them so that they can register. Because when you tell them, when I ask them, if you registered, a person will say, why should I vote? Like, I'm not seeing anything changing. Life is still normal. The poor are still getting poorer, the rich getting richer. So why should I vote? The best motivation to our generation is teaching them in schools about politics. So something that you are taught from an early age, you fall in love with. there's a saying that many people who love Kaizer Chiefs loved it because their parents followed that club, and it's true.
Okay.
So something that you see someone you love or you wish your role model doing, you
Mm.
get to fall in love with. Okay. Let me put it this way. One other thing that makes our youth not to be interested in the politics of South Africa, even in our school, we'll teach them about the history of Hitler. We teach them
Okay.
about James Emperor.
Yes.
We don't teach them enough about the history of South Africa. So why should they be interested in the issues of South Africa? While is they don't know
Yes.
anything about South Africa. So we we have to work the ground very much, and our curriculum must include the political education in our school. Uh, our youth or our generation, we as the youth, we have to be taught about these things. We must have political school.
I hear you. I hear you. I think you're the first person to actually that I've spoken to that's actually made mention of political education in schools. But the conversation of us having a lot more of South African history being taught in schools. This is a conversation that's been going on for a while. I know even while I was still in school, a lot of us were very like fed up with the curriculum. You're constantly learning about different regimes and different areas that you've never even heard of. You're studying their history, but you don't even know of African history. They fail to bring it closer to home, and so we will keep making the same mistakes because we did not learn what mistakes were made in the past, and that's the problem. And I think it's also very smart though. If you're trying to fool people, and if you're trying to mislead people, and if you're trying to govern people, you do not want them to have access to quality education, and you do not want them to have access to knowledge that is going to then empower them to try and overthrow you or to try and oppose you. You don't want opposition, you want a flock to follow you. So this is a conversation that's been had multiple times, but I think I appreciate your inclusion of political education in the curriculum.
And one other thing, my sister, we've got many youth in the church
Yeah.
who think politics are demonic.
Yeah.
I think last week I asked the question and said, should a Christian be involved in politics or not? State your reason.
Yeah.
And then, and the reason I got is that politics is a dirty game. But uh, Katsande injuring a player does not make football a dirty game. It's Katsande who's dirty, who's playing dirty. One person leading the country in a dirty way does not mean that politics are dirty. So
Exactly.
the other thing we must do, or you must also try to do, uh, let's talk about Christianity and politics so that even Christians can be open-minded about these topics and they can be involved in these things. Because that's another group that's very arrogant and they're costing us in this country too much.
Every time I have a conversation with revolutionaries, activists, we are constantly dissecting religion, especially Christians. As a Christian, sometimes I take personal offense, but I think I understand and I hear it because I know the conversations had amongst Christians, so I understand that. Um, my next question, sorry, was that in a lot of personal conversations that I've had, I've been advised not to believe in everything that I hear in the media. But then I also worry because a lot of the information in many households comes from, or is media is the only source for a lot of information in a lot of households. So would you recommend that people stay away from mainstream media? And if so, how would you advise that people educate themselves?
Not necessarily to stay away from the mainstream media, but I would advise people to check the, the truth the message that they get from the mainstream media. Because
Okay.
even itself can be manipulative. So you have to be careful when you are listening to the media and getting information. One thing I will advise people to do or how to educate themselves. Let us read the history books of our country. of our country and our African leaders. And we try by all means to grasp the information that is important, and we live by it. Because if I tell you to run away from media, some people will never get information.
True.
If I tell you to take everything that the media says, some people will go astray. So you need wisdom on how to differentiate on what is true and what is right. Because remember, politicians can also buy the media to broadcast only good things about them, and and and,
True.
and badmouth the other political party. So you ought to be careful when you are listening to the media. Read history books, do research, search for information. Ask for those who know. Ask from those who know better than you, and you learn.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. So in closing, my last question was, what advice would you give to young people who are participating in the elections for the first time?
There's this guy who was a Muslim. One said if it was not for Christians, I would be a Christian. So some would say if it was not for politicians, I would be a politician. uh, but uh, he said something, Mahatma Gandhi, that you must be the change you want to see. So if you want to see situations changing, or you want to see how the country is run changing, you have to be that change, and you can be that change by voting wisely, casting your vote wisely, making a right decision.
Yeah.
And remember that whoever you vote for black. Don't vote for uh, don't vote for a man within a black skin, but being a white guy inside.
Mm.
You know, I was pained on Friday, Heritage Day. This other pastor shared the pictures of some kids and wrote,
Mm.
yeah, the African names, and they were wearing tradition. And he said the only thing traditional about these kids is their clothes and their names. All other
Mm.
kids, they are white guys. They don't know anything about our tradition. So
True.
whoever you vote for, don't vote for a man who is a black guy by skin. Vote for black consciousness.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for participating in the interview. I think our session today is a little shorter, but I think it was very jam-packed and it was very knowledgeable, especially for me. So thank you so much for your presence. Thank you for your time. Thank you for just taking time out to speak to us Black people who want to make a difference. I really, really appreciate it. To everybody that's watching, to all the viewers, to everybody that's participating, to everybody that feels like they don't want to participate in the elections, please, 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 whatever you do, take time out to educate yourself. If you haven't already registered, I'm not sure when the registration's closed, but please, 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 please try to get registered and just make a vote, man. Whatever you have to say, whatever vote you cast, it's very impactful. You may not feel like it, you may feel like you're a little drop in an ocean, but trust me, it is very, very impactful. And it's towards your future. Nobody has that power over you but yourself. So thank you all for watching tonight, and we will see you again next week, same time, same place. Good night.